What's up, guys? Just want to kind of start by saying a couple things. Just so you know, this is the last video I'm gonna have to make this year for you guys. What I'm gonna do for you is go through kind of exactly what you're gonna see on your final exam, which is gonna be tomorrow. Again, it's going to start being available at 7:29 tomorrow, which is Wednesday. All right, and then it's not timed. Okay, you have tomorrow, Wednesday, you have Thursday, you have Friday as catch-up days. So just kind of utilize that time and take your time. And I know you can all do a really good job on this to finish out the year. Something else I wanted to say is how proud I am of you guys for just like sticking through this. It really sucks that we couldn't finish the year inside the classroom, but you guys did a really good job of keeping up with your work, and that's really important for kind of your future because this is sort of how college works. All right, a lot of things are online, and you guys showed that you're really maturing well, and I know you'll do great in high school. Those of you that are moving on to high school and my seventh graders, you did a really good job too. You're going to move into eighth grade and be doing geometry, and I just wanted to tell you all that you did a really good job with this virtual learning thing. It was tough for everyone, so I just wanted to start with that. And now we can get into what you guys are going to see on this exam. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you exact examples that you can look at from your textbook that will help you um, with kind of navigating through your exam and just things to look at that are going to help you through the exam. So um, numbers 1 and 2, all right, numbers 1 and 2 on your exam. Um, they're going to deal with subtracting polynomials. All right, so I'm going to again show you exactly what you can look at for examples if you need help. All right, so chapter 7 is where we're talking about polynomials, and 7.2 is adding and subtracting. And then I wrote down here example 2. Example 2 lines up really well with what you're going to kind of be doing on the exam. All right, where you're finding the difference. So you have 2 questions on subtracting polynomials. And again, 7.2, example 2, is a really good basis to kind of look at to help you with that one. All right, so we're just finding the difference. So again, you're going to have to kind of study on your own here. All right, I'm giving you everything I can. So 7.2, example 2 for numbers 1 and 2 on your exam. Numbers 3 and 4 deal with multiplying a monomial, so one term, by a polynomial. Okay, so what I'm actually going to do is, because if we go to 7.3, multiplying polynomials, they start right off the bat with binomials being multiplied by each other. So what I want you to do is ignore this for a second. Let's ignore that for a second. Let's pretend we're really multiplying, let's say 3x squared, a monomial, by an expression. We'll say x squared plus 4x plus, we'll just do 6. All right, so essentially what you're doing for numbers 3 and 4 is you're multiplying a monomial like this by maybe a trinomial or some type of polynomial. Okay, so we're just distributing. Okay, so remember our rule for multiplying was this: you multiply the coefficients, the numbers in front, and you add the exponents for the like terms. Okay, so 3 basically is our coefficient here, and 1 is our coefficient here. So 3x squared times x squared. We're going to look at the coefficients. That's 3 times 1, which is still 3. And then we add the exponents for our x. So 2 plus 2 gives us 4. So 3x to the 4th. Now 3x squared times 4x. 3 times 4 is 12. And then x to the second plus x to basically the first would give us x to the third, plus 3x squared times 6. 3 times 6 is going to give us 18. X squared plus basically x to the 0 power is still x squared. All right, so this would basically be your final answer for this problem. So that's what 3 and 4 will look like. You're just taking a monomial and distributing it to a polynomial. Okay? Okay, now 5 and 6, we're going to go and look at 7.3. I'm in 7.3 right now, multiplying polynomials. We're going to look at example 3. Okay? So what we learned to do when we're multiplying two binomials like this was we had 4 different methods that we talked about, actually. We talked about FOIL as like the main method we discussed. And then we did like distributing. We did a table. And then we multiplied vertically as well. So you're just kind of picking whatever method you want. All right, but what they're showing us here is the FOIL method, which is, like I mentioned, the one I really like, the one I used when I was in middle school. So the FOIL method is multiplying the first terms, the outer terms, the inner terms, and the last terms, and then combining like terms. All right, so again, if you need help with numbers 5 and 6, maybe take a look at this example of how to use FOIL to multiply two binomials together. Okay? All right, 7, 8, and 9 on your exam. We're going to go to 7.7 because it's factoring. All right, and we've done this so much, you guys should already know what's going on here. But I'm going to go to 7.7 and I'm going to look at example 1. All right. So we're factoring a trinomial like this. This is what you will be doing for 7, 8, and 9 on your exam. I'll just quick remind you. Here's how we do it. Here's how we factor a trinomial with nothing in front of x squared, right? So we try and figure out what multiplies to this last term and adds to this middle term. Be 8 and 2. I'll just show you the answer. Okay, they went through this whole spiel of different ways we could do it, find all these factors, but we talked about this using this x, and we can find our answers right away of x plus 2, x plus 8. Okay, that's how we factor trinomials with nothing in front of the x squared or the first term. That's 7, 8, and 9 on your test. All right, 10 and 11. That's where we're going to have to use that 5-step process that we discussed. All right, so I'm going to go to 7.8. And let's go through example 2. We'll just do it together so I can remind you of how to do this, because the book does this long process where you are guessing and checking. Here was our process that we talked about, our 5-step process. Our first step was to multiply A and C, which is 4 and 3, and that becomes our new top number that we're trying to factor to. And then 13, our middle term, is still what we're trying to add to. All right, so the numbers that would add to 13 and multiply to 12 are 12 and 1. Okay, now our next step is to replace, we're going to rewrite this trinomial, but as a 4-term polynomial, we're replacing 13x with 12x and 1x. Okay, so that's what I'm going to do here. I'm going to say 4x squared plus, I'm just going to put 12x here, plus 1x, I'm just going to put plus x, plus 3. All right, and then I'm going to group the first 2 terms and the last 2 terms. All right, so I'm flying through this. 4x squared and 12x. Now we're going to factor out the greatest common factor, which would be 4x, leaving us with x plus 3 after dividing by that 4x. So remember, our goal is to kind of have this say the same thing that this says after we factor out the greatest common factor. It already does. So all I'm going to do is just factor out a positive 1 to not change anything. All right. In the end, I put together what I factored out. So 4x plus 1 goes together, and x plus 3 is our other binomial. So here's my final answer. Okay, so that's how we use our 5-step process to factor something that does have a coefficient in front of that first term. All right, so that will be number 10 and 11 on your exam. All right, next. 12, 13, and 14. We're going to go to 7.9. They're special binomials. They're all very similar. This should be very simple. All right, we'll just go to example 1 is what I wrote down, and take a look at these 3. All right, Remember, these are special binomials because they have perfect squares. All right. So what I'm going to do with special binomials is I'm going to take their square roots, and I'm going to put one binomial with a plus and one with minus. All right. So again, 12, 13, and 14 are all just like this one right here. Okay. Just like this one. So again, we just write two binomials, one plus, one minus, with the square roots included as our first and last terms. All right. That's 12, 13, and 14. 15 and 16, we're actually talking about chapter 8. So we're going to go to 8.4. Let's look at example 3. Let's actually look at this key idea right before example 3. All right, because what we're talking about with 15 and 16 on your exam is maximum and minimum values. Okay, so it's going to be really simple. They're going to give you a picture of a parabola. All right, and they're going to say, does this parabola have a maximum or minimum value? So let me just kind of go through this with you. All right, if we look at the pictures, remember, if the graph is opening downward, okay, it has a maximum value. All right, the bottom or the top of the parabola is a maximum value if it's pointing down, and it's a minimum value if it's pointing up. Okay, so that's one part of your answer. And then you're just going to have to take the picture and identify the ordered pair that is the maximum or minimum value. Okay, so it's a picture of a parabola, and you're just finding what is the ordered pair that makes the maximum or minimum value. Okay, and then you're saying, is it a maximum or minimum value? That's it. All right, that's it. So pretty simple. Now 17 and 18, that was 15 and 16. Now 17 and 18, I'm actually gonna show you the test, part of the test. All right, because this is a little different. It's a little different than anything we've ever done. So here's 17, and 18 is just like this as well. I'm just going to walk you through what are you supposed to do here. So it says, based on the graph of f of x equals 4 to the x power, state the values of 4 to the 0 power and 4 to the second power. So then they're going to say the function at 4 to the 0 power is equal to what? So basically they're saying when we plug in 0 for x in this function, what does the function equal? And then there's a picture down here as well, where you can basically see your answer if you look. All right, where x is 0, what is y? What does the function equal? That's what they mean by that. And then when the function, or what is the function equal to when x is 2? So again, if we plugged in 2 for x, 4 to the second power essentially, what does that make the function equal? And again, we have this picture down here that kind of shows us the answer. We look for 2 on our x value, and we look for our y value at that point. Okay, that's what you're doing for 17 and 18. All right, now 19 and 20, I'm going to show you those as well, or one of them. So here's question 19, 20 is the same way. It says complete the table of values. So what they're saying is plug these numbers in for x, -2, 0, 2, and 3, in for x into this function. What does y come out to be? Remember, follow order of operations, and you'll get these answers pretty simply. These are all worth 2 points, okay? These are all worth 2 points, guys. So again, take your time on these. They're not hard. Just make sure you understand what the directions are asking you. Again, you're completing the table. Plug these numbers in for x. Follow order of operations. What comes out for y when each of those numbers is plugged in for x. Okay? That's 19 and 20 on your exam. They look exactly the same. All right? Now, 4 more. 21 and 22. We're going to go into 9.4. 9.4. 21 and 22 is using the quadratic formula. Okay? Using the quadratic formula. Now remember the quadratic formula, in order to use it, everything, all the terms must be on one side of the equation. Okay, so if they're not, you're going to have to move them to one side. All right, but I'm just going to remind you of what the quadratic formula is. Remember, use this example. It's 9.4 example 1 to help you with 21 and 22 on your exam. All right, so here's the quadratic formula. We plug the numbers in, and we just do the math in order. Do everything underneath the square root symbol first, okay? Take that square root, then add and subtract on the top of the fraction, and then divide last. All right, that's how we use the quadratic function or the quadratic formula. All right, that's 21 and 22. Now, finally, the last two on your exam are pretty easy. They're geometric sequences. So we're going to go to chapter 6, and we're going to go to section 7. And we're going to look at example 1. Okay. So you had some of these questions actually on your practice today, I believe. So it's just saying write the next 3 terms of the geometric sequence. Remember, a geometric sequence represents an exponential function, all right, where there's a common ratio between these numbers, meaning there's something that is being multiplied to get from one to the next. In this problem right here, it's 2. We're multiplying by 2 to get from one problem or one number to the next, right? 3 times 2 is 6, 6 times 2 is 12, 12 times 2 is 24. What are the next 3 terms? If we take 24 and multiply by 2, what do we get? And then we take that number multiplied by 2, and that number multiplied by 2. What do we get? We get 48, 96, and 192. All right? So that's 23 and 24. You're figuring out what are the next 3 terms in the sequence. So you're going to have to find the common ratio to do that. All right? That's the end of it. That's the end of the exam. Okay? Like I said, you have all of Wednesday to complete it, and then you have catch-up days on Thursday and Friday. All right? So I would start with making sure your final exam is done. You take your time on it, and you do well on it. It's worth 30 points. Okay? So kind of the highest grade, summative grade that you're going to have this quarter. So take your time on it. And then I'd go and look at Skyward and see if you have any missing assignments and get those into me, and then email me telling me that you finished them. All right, so you can finish this year strong. Again, great job this year, guys. Great job with the virtual learning. Hopefully everything I just talked about kind of makes sense and it helps you. If you have any questions, please email me, or I will have a question discussion board up for the final exam as well. I ask questions in there, that's fine. Otherwise, I'll talk to you guys later.